Welcome to the Dynamic Thriving audio blog, where we're very spiritual, with a good dose of practicality in support of your life transformation. This is your host, Marianne Pack, spiritual medium, oracle for the many, and joy advocate. Today's audio blog is entitled, The Thieves of Joy. When you're just not feeling joyful, what do? Do you look around for someone or something to blame, as if some outside force stole your joy? Or do you begin to look inward to see if your thoughts and limiting beliefs might be the culprit? What are your thieves of joy? Do any of these sound familiar? Complaining, comparing, judging, believing the lies of indoctrinated beliefs, resentment, unworthiness, competing, people-pleasing, not speaking your truth, believing everything you think. There are a host of thieves that will come in and steal our joy when we're not paying attention. Maybe you're beginning to recognize the thieves more quickly now that you've been on your transformational journey for a while. Maybe you've become more aware of how you feel earlier in the game and can find thoughts that soothe your emotions. Maybe you no longer beat yourself up for having negative feelings and allow yourself to feel all the feels in the moment. And then you're ready to say, okay, that's enough of that, and I'm ready to feel better now and move forward. What are the triggers that you notice when you realize your joy is waning or maybe gone? When I become aware that I'm heading in a shitty mood, I have all the tools that could help me, but I don't always use them. Ugh. I've been on my transformational journey and studying the law of attraction for years. I know this stuff. I teach this stuff. Now, I do want to acknowledge that I'm doing way better than I did years ago. But I'd also like to get even better at this transition back into my joy faster and more efficiently. When my mind goes spinning out of control and I allow my thoughts to run unchecked, I sink very quickly into complaining and resentment. I was thoroughly trained and raised to be a people pleaser without regard to speaking my truth, so I kinda understand how I get myself out of whack sometimes. I've been trained so well that it's not good to rock the boat. And so speaking up for myself, speaking my truth about my desires could evoke an unwanted response from others. My fear for speaking up has clearly held me in the prison of playing small in life and my business, and at times eating me up on the inside. I know my triggers are becoming resentful, complaining, and angry, usually at someone because they hurt my feelings or didn't do something we talked about. Or it could be I simply expected them to read my mind and know that I wanted this thing or for them to do something for me. This usually shows up because I've not given myself permission to ask for what I want, need, or simply desire. And then I get angry at myself because I can't bring myself to speaking up for me. And I resent the other person for not just knowing what I want. Ugh, duh. So then I go into beating myself up for still not being able to speak up for myself. I'm 62 for crying out loud. Why am I still doing this? I also know that I'm still struggling with my need to control situations and people. I find myself blowing up when I finally have had enough of not getting what I want and spewing it out there at the other person, instead of not allowing it to get so explosive in me before I speak up. When I blow a gasket, they tend to react and don't receive it well either. Since I'm out of alignment and not speaking from a place of love for myself or them, it never turns out well. My energy is ugly, and that's what I receive back from the person I'm almost attacking. Happily, this is happening less and less as I'm working on healing my toxic indoctrinated beliefs that I learned from childhood in a very evangelical, patriarchal type church and family. Instead of holding all my desires in, I'm finally able to ask for things more frequently. I'm living a much more satisfying and peaceful life. I'm still a work in progress, though, to be sure. What have I learned about the thieves of joy stealing from us? I've come to understand this is about our attraction, good or bad, wanted or unwanted. It's all about momentum. When we have too much momentum going in a negative direction because we haven't been on top of our thoughts, the universe simply obeys its laws and matches what we have going on vibrationally. Of course, this works either way, positive and negative. So this law of attraction will certainly work in our favor if we can nip our negative thoughts in the bud. But we have to be aware we're in this pattern of thought early enough before the momentum builds too much. Momentum matters because once we are gaining momentum in our thought vibration, we can't stop on a dime and head in the opposite direction. We can't be in joy and suddenly shift our gears and react to something in anger, nor can we be in anger and suddenly experience joy a second later. These energies are on opposite ends of the vibrational frequencies scale. We can, however, be in joy, really feeling good in alignment, and as the peak of our joy wanes and slows down, we don't reinforce our joy by looking for something else to appreciate and enjoy to keep the momentum going. Instead, we may hear or see something we don't like and allow ourselves to give it some attention. We feel the twinge of an emotion attached to our thought about not wanting that thing that we've noticed. But did we actually pay attention that we felt that twinge of negative emotion? That twinge of not feeling good was our warning bell. Thieves of joy are circling our perimeter. If we've ignored the signal, we think a little more about the thing that we don't want. The more we stay in that pattern of thought, the universe is obediently matching us with more thoughts that feel the same. We run into someone who mentions the thing we don't want, and now we're co-creating even more momentum in that direction until it's full steam ahead. We are disappointed or angry. The complaining kicks in. We judge the thing as bad or wrong, sirens blaring. We have just been robbed. We allowed our thieves of joy to rob us. Fortunately, this momentum can work in our favor too. So how can we become more aware of what we are thinking? That's where we have a secret weapon against the thieves of our joy. Our secret weapon against our thieves of joy is our inner emotional guidance. Our emotions tell on our thoughts every single time. Think about it. Every time we think a thought, we have an emotional response. When we feel bad, we have been thinking negative thoughts. When we feel good, we have been thinking positive thoughts. Test it out. The next time you feel crappy, stop a minute and recall what your previous thoughts were. Or, the next time you're feeling good, evaluate what your thoughts were immediately before you felt good. We have this amazingly helpful tool of our emotions that will serve us well if we put it to use for our advantage. It's way too difficult to control the 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts we have in a day. That ain't happening. The cool thing is that each of those thoughts have an emotional response attached to them. So it's way easier to notice how we feel and decide what we're going to do from there. It's a whole lot easier to notice that we're feeling bad and realize we have been on a rampage of negative thoughts. That negative emotion is simply indicating that we have been thinking thoughts that are contradictory or in opposition to what our inner being is thinking at the very same time about the very same subject. Our emotions indicate the direction we're heading. They are our security system. When we feel good, we are heading in the direction of more of what we want. And our inner being is saying, yes, that's it, warmer, warmer. Feeling good is the green light to proceed happily and securely. When we feel bad, we're heading in the direction of more of what we don't want, or we are holding ourselves in the position of the lack or absence of what we want. During those crappy feeling times, our inner being is saying, dude, I just see it a different way, and the outcome is outrageously awesome. Colder, colder. Think like me. Feeling bad is the red light, flashing warning light that joy thieves are on the premises. How do we maintain the security of our joy? We keep our connection lines open with our inner being and monitor our security system, our emotions. When we become more aware of how we feel in every moment, we are tuned into our security system. When it gives us early warning signs with the first negative emotion, halt and do not proceed any further. Say, OMG, I'm doing that thing again, and it's a totally unnecessary thought. Then laugh and pat yourself on the back and say, good job, me. I was awake and aware. This is when we have the ability to use our emotions to guide us back into a better feeling attitude. It's our attitude, our mood in every moment that allows or disallows our flow of joy. The thoughts we choose to focus on will continue to build our momentum toward more joy or move away from our joy. So it's time to make feeling good our number one priority. It's time to be so selfish about feeling good that nothing can ever stop us from choosing joy whenever we want to improve our attitude and outcome. Our choice of thoughts is under our control. Let's learn to use our control wisely. Let's be so devoted to ourselves that we choose joy more and more of the time. Let's be so loyal and loving toward ourselves that we can speak our truth with love. Let's be so enthusiastic about the joys of life that we focus on more things that we appreciate. When we are enjoying life, we have become whole. We are one with who we really are. As extensions of source energy, we are one with our inner source. We are knowing, thinking, and feeling exactly the same way as our inner source, the source of all joy. Then, no harm can ever befall us. We will attract more things that expand the joy we already feel. When we do see something we don't want, we will understand it's simply our opportunity to ask for our personal improvement on the subject. If we choose to think more like our inner being, we will feel joy expand exponentially. It must. It's law. And no thieves can approach us to steal our joy. To your joy, this is Mary Ann Pack, your spiritual medium and joy advocate. The Dynamic Thriving Podcast is a production of the LPL Podcast Network.